What's up, everybody? It's Solon. Today we're here once again in another Victoria 3 total conversion mod overview. This is 1913 The Gathering Storm, and I'm just really stricken by this beautiful political cartoon art that's being used as the loading screen, and I guess the launch screen. But basically this is a World War I total conversion mod. You guys seem to really enjoy these for Victoria 3. I don't think there's a lot of people who cover mods for Victoria 3 in general. There aren't that many, to be fair, or at least not many big ones, so I figured I would just make another one. And just so you guys know, at some point this month or the next month, I'm going to be making an actual Victoria 3 gameplay video where Tarkus, I'm just going to call him that because I don't know how to say his full YouTube name because I'm a fake fan, will be helping me learn how to play the game, and it should be a fun time. I think that he'll be streaming that, and I'll be probably editing it down into just a video. But for now, we have our objectives. As we know, the objective screen when you start a new game, we have the New World, which as Europe gets engulfed into chaos, the New World is rising into prosperity, yet tensions are still lying beneath. The continent is under the control of the United States of America, which became the richest economy in the world at the end of the 19th century. A lot of to-dos, but we have the Union of 1776 has managed to rise quickly to the richest economy in the world by abiding to the principle of liberalism, which I'm told is the key to Victoria 3. The USA is now the best candidate to become the next superpower, but its civil society and politicians still prefer to limit its influence to the American continent for now. To extend the American hegemony, a change of course needs to be taken either by convincing or by being forced to. The Triple Entente, initiated in 1894 with the Franco-Russian alliance over fear of the German expansion. The British Empire then joined after resolving colonial disputes with France in 1904 and disputes with Russia over Central and East Asia in 1907. We have the British Empire, the French Republic, and the Russian Empire. The British Empire, with the death of Her Majesty Queen Victoria in 1901, the Victorian era is rapidly fading into memory. The United Kingdom has made good use of the last century, solidifying an empire stretching from Johannesburg to Cairo to Hong Kong and Ottawa. Yet rising tensions on the old continent threaten to tear everything down. Will Britannia find herself embroiled in a new European war or sit this one out? French Republic. Lagging behind the other great industrial powers, France nonetheless managed to remain a mighty military force. The Republican regime is now well accepted among the civil society, which is united against the German threat. France has all the cards to catch up to the other great powers and is ready for a great fight. That'd probably be a fun way to play, like to help build them up. Russia has been in a long agony since its defeat in 1856. Politically strained and behind in terms of industrialization, the empire needs to move forward quickly or it will face desolation. Emperor Nicholas II is ready to push for industrialization but refuses any concrete political reforms, even if it contributes to its unpopularity. I'm assuming the monarchy. We have the Triple Alliance, which would be the other side of World War I. The alliance started with two German brothers in 1879 over fears regarding Russia, and as Austria-Hungary realized it needed Germany to survive after its defeats in 1859 and 1866, Italy then joined in 1882 over fears regarding the French colonial empire, following the takeover of Tunisia in 1881, which is where Carthage was. German Empire. Germany's rise to power is threatening many, especially since the forced retirement of Bismarck in 1890. The empire managed to peacefully get new territories in Africa after the Agadir crisis of 1911, but the military command, practically a state within the state, thinks the empire needs to truly show its army capabilities. Yikes. The Union of 1867 for the Austro-Hungarian Empire, where my ancestors come from, managed to stabilize the multi-ethnic empire for a while, but nationalistic tensions in the Balkans are once again causing havoc in the empire, competing for the region with Russia. Vienna can count on its German ally, but the danger mainly comes from inside the borders now. Can the Austro-Hungarian dynasty hold the leash of so many nationalities for so long? In the Kingdom of Italy, Italy finds itself at a crossroads. Pulled at from seemingly every angle, she finds herself balanced between regionalism and nationalism, conservatism, liberalism, traditionalism, and industrialization, all while being courted by every other power in Europe, all seeking her support in the next inevitable conflict. That'd probably also be a fun one to play. And we have the Two Dragons as the last one. As China decided to let its imperial past behind in 1911, Japan's disdain over China only aggravated. The rising power that managed to westernize faster is highly tempted to take advantage of China's internal divisions. The Republic of China and the Empire of Japan are the two for this one. The revolution of 1911 was deemed necessary to move forward and finally reform China, but now the country is highly destabilized despite the autocratic rule of Yuan Shikai. Order must be brought quickly before the regional warlords are tempted to seize power for themselves. Recognized on the world stage, China is still snubbed and occupied by the Western forces. As Japan is becoming more and more powerful and menacing, breaking diplomatic isolation is now a top priority for the new republic. And the Empire of Japan. Japan has managed to become the equal of Western powers in terms of politics, military, and economy, but remains victims of their racism. To truly be accepted, the path of militarization or democratization is necessary, maybe even both. With the unity provided by the continuous Yamamoto dynasty, the Japanese people can walk into any direction with confidence. That is interesting too, so it sounds like it might be an easier start. I'm going to select Austria-Hungary just to start, and then we'll kind of go through these. World War I is such an interesting time period. It sort of feels, definitely feels like the colliding of two different worlds, like the old with the now modern world that we're much more familiar with. And as an aside, Battlefield 1, best Battlefield game in my opinion. The Russian Empire is enormous in this, good lord. So we have to-do, we have nothing active. Let's see. So in charge of us we have, also it looks like we have some forces down here. There's an escalation. Countdown to war down here. Oh, that's never what you want. Well, I mean, I guess it could be what you want. Let's see. We have an illegitimate government. Oh, boy. It looks like because we only support, and we are a Habsburg, of course, we're Franz Josef von Habsburg. We have the landowners and the military on our side, but the rural folk, the bourgeoisie, the industrialists, and the intelligentsia are our opposition, as well as the trade unions who are unhappy. And it looks like you got a lot of stuff to contend with here. Probably would have to add one of these parties into your form of government or something along those lines. Got a bunch of laws, institutions. Looks like we care a lot about law enforcement, education, and that's about it. Interesting. Okay. We are in the Austria-Hungarian Empire power block, so it looks like there's a bunch of different blocks, and it looks like the empires are broken into their own, which makes sense. The French sphere is actually quite large. The Monroe Doctrine, which is the US over here, it looks like they have a ton of interests down in South America, not surprising. And I'm surprised, looks like they have a bunch of them over here. Oh, this is the Republic of China. So a lot of them in Southeast Asia and in South America, and a little bit in Europe, but not terribly, influential over there at the moment. It looks like we have no active research. We can establish a new company. We have sulfur shortages. We have a bunch of different things, a lot of different shortages on telephones, railroads, electricity, or low organization. Austria-Hungarian Empire is having a time right now. So we have some major players, obviously Great Britain. We have King George. We have Germany, which is Wilhelm, Kaiser Wilhelm, of course. With Russia, we have, Tsar Nicholas Romanov. And so obviously this is all going to erupt very quickly. The French Empire is enormous. Who's leading France at the time? Chancellor Raymond Poincaré. Interesting. And he also has a desirable ally. So these are some places that they have general interest in. Okay. Actually, let's switch to the US and just see what we can get over here. Bunch of shortages. We can establish a new company. General Electric we have Ford. We have California Oil. Probably would want to establish, as I live here in PA, I'm going to establish the metalworkers because I want to. Look at this. Beautiful upper. I love that Upper Marlboro is on the map. I always end up switching to the US, which isn't a surprise. It looks like there is a little bit of an escalation going down here in Mexico, which could potentially lead us to go into war with them. Or with Mexico itself. Looks like there might be a little civil war. Revolutionary Mexico, yes. Okay, so this is during... And who are you aligned with? You're Catholic Mexican? Okay. And you have... Country attitude, country relations, okay. The American market. I'm kind of curious to see if we have any in our journal. Close the Federal Reserve and return the country to previous economic prosperity. Oh, open the Federal Reserve. Potential. The Red Scare. Okay. Which would be the Spectre haunting the world. Interesting. Nation formation. Interesting, interesting. What's over in... Well, let's go back then. Let's see what Germany has to do. They do not have anything to do. Their to-do list is tiny. They also have an illegitimate government controlled exclusively by the armed forces, which can only be a bad thing. Makes sense. And the French Republic, I'm assuming, does not have an illegitimate government, but I kind of want to see. The bourgeoisie, Catholic Church, so very conservative, party of order, of course. But you have the Republican Party, which is also kind of in there. And they're unhappy probably because you have so much petite bourgeoisie support. It's a very, elitist. Whereas you have, the rural folk are also unhappy. Makes sense. My goodness, there's a bunch of different political movements going on here. And then there's also the anti-German League, of course. And if you see, there's a bit of a aggression going on down here in the Balkans, which is, of course, the thing that began the war in the first place. So a bit of war is broken out here in the Balkans. The southern Serbian front, so Bulgaria and Greece are fighting each other. And it looks like that's also happening here in Mexico. There are two fronts. I just hit go really quickly. A revolution diplomatic party has started and our country is about to be in a state of civil war. The primary demand of the war goals. Okay, they want to annex parts of Mexico. It looks like the initiator is cocky. The player, which would be us. So the revolution is beginning. And they are going to have to contend with that, which is unfortunate for them. So there's also a bit of a civil war going on in China right now. A lot of interesting stuff going on. Of course, the period is... Oh, a bunch of embargoes broken. It would be interesting, I think, to play through either something like this or the New Order one, because I think that they're like interesting periods to explore. I mean, World War One, especially for the historical context, I probably would try to do some background research a little bit more just about the information leading up to World War One, because as an American, it's not something we learn a lot about. But it could be fun to play this one or the New Order, just because, you know, you get that like interesting Cold War era, and once you actually learn how to play the game, there's a lot you can do. It is interesting to see the U.S. Be so, I guess, similar. I'm not going to say this in the video. But there's a lot of fun things you could do. I mean, there's a lot going on in China, of course. There's a lot you could do with Japan, apparently. Their empire towards us is genial. There's a lot you could do with Japan. There's a lot you could do with the U.S. There's a lot you could do with like a bunch of different countries. Probably Russia too, honestly, all things considered. I don't even know who I'm playing as right now. Great Britain. Great Britain, you probably wouldn't even have to enter World War One if you didn't want to, but this is definitely going to break out. Something crazy is going to happen, I'm sure. I kind of want to know if we just hit go for a minute. Oh man, they broke our German and American investment agreement. I'm just fast forwarding just to see. French-Indochina relations improve. Our economy is booming. We literally can do anything we want. We're just making money left and right. The Panama Canal. On 6 November 1903, Philip Buena Varilla, as Panama's ambassador to the United States, signed the Hey Buena Varilla Treaty, granting rights to the United States to build and indefinitely administer the Panama Canal Zone and its defenses. After 9 years, the constructions are close to be completed. When opened, it will assure the dominance of the United States over America and the Pacific. American election date is 1916-11-7. Triggers the event optimization event in 5 days. Finish it once and for all. Our budget's going quite well. What does our government look like? So we have the People's Party. The Democratic Party is in charge, and we have laws. I want to see what our institutions are. Our Social Security is pretty low. That's about right. Education is medium. Law enforcement is medium. Home affairs. No, we actually care a bit about home affairs. Changing to level 2. It's going to take about 50 weeks. I'll work on the welfare of the country. Oppressed and oppressed. As our industries have grown more and more crucial to the future of the American nation, so too has the working class. Disparate workers' movements have begun to unite under the cause for socialism. The development of modern industry therefore cuts from under its feet the very foundation on which the bourgeoisie produce and appropriate products. What the bourgeoisie therefore produces above all are its own gravediggers. In fall and the victory of the proletariat are equally inevitable. A storm approaches. Oh boy. The specter haunting the world. The rising prevalence of the socialist unrest within the United States of America has begun to coalesce into a movement that threatens the rule of the upper class. The struggle between class has acquired a sharper edge as American workers adopt the methods and principles of the socialist movement. Interesting. I just want to see if we can see what will happen with World War I triggers in July of 1914. Empire Japan has declared a rivalry with us. And how's this going? It looks like the revolutionists are doing pretty well. Norwegians have begun moving to Nebraska and other surrounding states. A minority group of Norwegians has recently settled in the state of Nebraska, seeking a better future. However, the local European American elites are stirring up resentment, claiming the Norwegian newcomers will destroy the traditional ways of life. They don't belong here. Our European American customs are ways of life. They'll be lost if we let the Norwegians settle. Claimed a prominent landover, his words echoed in the taverns and markets of Omaha. The newcomers, hopeful but weary, whisper of opportunity, but face closed doors and hostile states. We must foster harmony between the peoples, whether Norwegian or... okay. I think we should foster harmonies. The economy must boom. Even though I'm not doing anything, I'm kind of just sitting here. The Federal Reserve. A group of influential business owners are demanding the establishment of a central bank. They argue this will greatly help our economy and banking system with the coordination of a centralized institution. It will lead to the empowerment of big business and bankers to the detriment of temporary hurtling the budget of lower middle classes. They state that if we want to avoid setbacks like the Panic of 1907 due to our inelastic currency and the general lack of liquidity, it is paramount to establish that the Federal Reserve will supervise the flow of restriction of credit in our economy. Its board of governors will be placed under the control of the Congress to avoid corruption and excess. If we refuse, this will lead to the favoring of small and medium-sized business instead. It's best for the economy, as one is tend to do. No market goods shortages for the American economy, which is very interesting. We are just making money left hand over foot. No end in sight. Wildfire started in Vermont. We're a couple months away from World War I kicking off, so I want to see what the pop-up is, and then we'll go from there. But this is interesting. It's a very cool time period. I mean, cool in retrospect. I'm sure at the time it felt terrible. I've heard nothing but bad things about it. And I've watched a couple documentaries, of course, but my knowledge of it is so limited. The Monroe Doctrine is this. We're the second strongest power block in the game. And we actually don't have a very big military in comparison to something like the British Empire. The Tampico affair. On April 9th, 9 of our sailors from the USS Dolphin went ashore to resupply in Tampico. Suspected due to the ongoing revolution, they got arrested by the Federal Army of Mexico, although they were quickly released and the Mexican commander apologized. Rear Admiral Henry T. Mayo demands a formal 21-gun salute to the U.S. flag as a registry apology. Let's not compromise our reconciliation. We don't need to worry about Mexico right now. The Sichuan army is going to be fighting against the Republic of China. Good lord. There's things you can do with these agitators. The war is supposed to start in like a month. Austrian heir Franz Ferdinand has been assassinated. Vienna mourns its prince. On June 28th, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, and his wife Sophie have been assassinated by a Serbian Bosnian radical on June 28th in Sarajevo. Tensions in the region are once again boiling, and it is unclear how far they will escalate. The first reports from the Austrian-Hungarian investigation have found connection between the assassins Gavrilo Princip and the Black Hand, a Serbian military organization. The Austrian-Hungarian nation is in shock and is expected to respond strongly to this traumatic event. All we can do is wait. Oh dear. Cause without a rebel. Although John Dewey is still fighting for his cause, no one is following him anymore. Despondent Dewey has started publicly remarking that this may give up his activism altogether. What's the point? Speakers, when we have any, speak to empty halls and at empty chairs. There's no crowds, no banners. If anyone pays attention at all, they will never understand anything we're preaching. What reason is there to stay here? We're all stuck doing nothing. Perhaps you can find... Oh, well, we exiled John Dewey. That's actually insane. The Great War. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand has spiraled into a generalized conflict. Where it was expected to be a short conflict, the war seems to be engulfing our elites, and people are waiting for us to make a choice. We'll see how the war unfolds. The Great War. There's 3 possible actions. A war of unseen scale is raging in Europe. Even though it's taking a tremendous amount of lives, some members of our political scene and population are supporting different sides. If we decide to remain neutral, it will avoid us waste of money and lives. We will miss the potential momentum of a victory. If we decide to join one side, we have to convince our people and elites alongside redirecting our diplomatic stances. Mainly, we have to establish trade and investment agreements, sign military alliances with members of one side. Political lobbies and war participants that have rivalries with us will also impact our progress. Once the support for one side has been consolidated, we can join it. Americans value isolationism and pacifism dear in their hearts. The memory of the Civil War is still present in many minds, favoring the pacifist stance. Republicans, Democrats, progressivists, no matter who holds the White House and would make the nation enter into the World War, would suffer greatly in the long term. If we want to make that decision, we need to be ready to pay a heavy price for our political formation. However, maintaining our neutrality would greatly benefit us. Interesting. And that's obviously from the American side, but World War I has kicked off. It is about to start raging here. Austria is attacking Serbia. Austria-Hungarian Empire is attacking Serbia, and other things are about to start kicking off here as Russia attacks Germany and Germany attacks France. And the World War I is about to go crazy town, and people are going to die like left and right, and it's going to be awful. And, you know, people are going to go crazy, and people are going to be dying left and right, and it's going to be terrible. And one of the worst wars, one of the worst, you know, air warfare verification, American neutrality, the Metropolitan Police. So this will, like, basically establish the Metropolitan Police, our nation, our culture. Triggers the event national myths. A lot of different stuff that you can do as America, and I'm sure other countries too, but this is pretty cool. I would definitely recommend checking this out if you like Victoria 3. It seems really interesting. There's a lot going on in the world too, which would give you a chance to sort of like participate in the ways that you would like, instead of just being more like of a passive world. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I know that with TNO, I was reading from some of the comments that an all-out war is like the bad thing to happen in that game, whereas this is like sort of what you're expecting. So if somebody who's been wanting to play something like that in Victoria 3, then here you go. But that's going to be it for me. As always, I'm Sol. I hope that you enjoyed this little sort of overview video. Again, if you want me to play Victoria 3, I will be doing so soon with Tarkus. Just have to find some time to work together as I'm in the middle of a move, which is why I've been only uploading 2 videos a week. But hopefully as my schedule recoalesces and figures itself out, we'll be good to go. But as always, I'm Sol, and I will happily see you in the next one.